Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask has gained a lot of popularity than when I was a kid. I had gotten it as a hand-me-down that someone else didn't want. But when I had gone to replace my original copy, the first not technically being my own, I ran into an issue that a lot of other N64 games do not have. And that is the rarity of the cartridge itself. You see, I wanted a physical copy because they just run differently. Every issue of any Nintendo product is going to be slightly different. And I found that it is much, much more likely and easier to find a fake version at this point than the real versions. Curious about the scarcity, I ended up hitting up several shops, calling repair people, and even one across the United States, and found out that this is due to gold plastic syndrome. So the original N64 carts are these gold swirled carts, the ones that I'm really familiar with. These cartridges have this almost metallic sheen to them that I haven't really seen on anything else, which now I know why. And they apparently are unbelievably brittle. I have seen bins full of shattered copies of Majora's Mask. What the reseller would do was just try to salvage the game itself and the stickers and try to make basically recasted copies that people could just use for gameplay instead of collections. I have seen these games in just obliterated pieces. And what's interesting is this copy here is the one I find that most people who are collecting N64 games as adults have. This is the cartridge for Pokemon Stadium 2. This is not the original cartridge and may not be the original game. An easy way to tell is to just open up your N64 game, though if you have an original Majora's Mask, I maybe not suggest doing that because those screw holes may be only held together by friction at this point. So that's where I picked up these screen caps, very helpful. As a good Samaritan, this fellow has used Randy here as an example of what gold plastic syndrome is and why copies of Majora's Mask, especially when dropped onto concrete floors, shatter to a cajillion pieces. Let's take a moment and watch Randy's last minutes.
Despite having a great name, Randy in fact sucks. This is because he's made out of the gold plastic, and as you can tell.
Oh, God. Okay. So Randy has been smashed to pieces for our education. The thing done to this toy seems unfair, but the other one does not have those issues despite being even the same design. So what it comes down to is that when I was trying to replace my copy of a game that used to run for $10 has spiked wildly and will only continue to grow due to the fact that its general condition when left alone or in the hands of others is poor. It won't handle the elements well or drop it repeatedly and have stress on it in that way. It will just degrade and disappear. Just to flashbang you real quick, gold plastic syndrome is more well known in the Transformers community, which, like, good for them, but I am confused. They have really extensive knowledge on this and have been trying to figure out ways to work with this and have been having a good time with it for some time. I just want to cover this real quick because I do worry about the legacy of the physical copies of Majora's Mask. I know that not like everyone is worried about physical copies, but I do think the physical versions and the original versions of those media are important due to the N64 being such a strange system that I don't find that emulation can really repeat due to its combination with the CRT. For when it comes to how the game actually looks. And Majora's Mask, arguably to me, is one of the games that most suffers from being ported onto other devices. I don't even have to go over the GameCube port. We're not going to even go over the GameCube port. But these cartridges are unfortunately severely fragile due to larger plastic issues. On r/plastic, thank goodness, we have a post going over talking about some of it. And the thing is that this doesn't seem to be an issue anymore and is a kind of long-term collector's issue now. To cover a little bit more, here's the Transformer guy going over it a little bit better, and Randy's unfortunate crushing.
Talk about GPS. There's never really been an official answer. We've had people on Wikipedias who claim to be engineers and claim to have their own experiences with GPS, let's say. Let's hear your take on it as someone who's had to deal with that over a span of 15 plus years.
Yeah, the reason gold gets used in the first place is because it is attractive on shelf, right? It's like, let's make this guy prestige looking. Rarely does that gold look prestige looking, but there it is in the plastic anyway. And to make it look prestige looking, though it can't, you add more gold, which agitates the plastic. If you think of plastic as a polymer, think of it as a net. You start adding irritants like metallics to it, that like cuts into the net in a weird way, thus separating the plastic over time. Very polymer-based sciences here, but
which are gold plastic, or the best example of them all from Beast Wars Neo. Thank you. Yeah, that's why I wanted you guys to finish it, because I was like, everyone knows that one, where it's a toy that was originally Razor Beast, and here you have something that's a spring-loaded gimmick, and it's stored like that in the packaging for 20 years. I actually did a video of it on YouTube. I don't want to plug it, but like it's just, I opened it fresh after 20 years. It was finished.
So I don't want to say that bootleg copies are bad. In fact, I, at this moment, would like to really press people for allowing there to be a resale space for copies that are perfectly fine internally, but maybe externally have issues. I have a lot of N64 games that have just flat out sticker issues, or the classic like orangening of the sides and other such. And I don't think that these things are bad. If it's the original game, I wouldn't be put out, because, you know, bootlegs get weird sometimes, but those have their own joys to them. And I wish that a lot of resale stores would bring the bins back. When I was a kid, there was usually a bin of things that were like a little too ugly to resell for like used games, but still the game worked. That's how I got actually my first copy of Animal Crossing for the GameCube when I was a kid for like $4, is that the case was just ugly. And so I think that even if your Majora's Mask has been stripped of its skin and put inside Pokemon Stadium 2, that is fine. But it needs to be acknowledged that that is not the original copy, and that this plastic is vanishing and will continue to vanish. So I'm also making this as a warning. So if you have an original copy that doesn't have a bootleg outside or inside, you be careful with him. Don't drop him. Don't slam him too hard into the N64. You shouldn't be slapping it anyway. But just letting you know that it may pop at any moment and come apart. I don't know much about tech, but I do know that the screw bases for where this game goes into can be the most fragile portion. So opening it up is generally a bad idea. It's a rare game due to it not being sold very highly and not being resold very highly, and then also being destroyed. And I was horrified when I was replacing my copy that I couldn't find one for many months and had to be on straight up waiting lists. And the one I have has magic marker on it. Live well. My phone finally quit on me, so this is the temporary solution. Good luck to you in all ways. This is a sort of sequel to a previous video that was eaten by YouTube's copyright system for reasons beyond my understanding. So good luck out there. Wish you well. Don't drop your copy.